Everybody. First, I'd like to welcome everybody and say thank you for being here today for what is really very important and very key. And what I would say is the foundation and the fabric of any nation. Any nation that seeks to advance must begin with education. So I don't know if the presentation is ready to go? The presentation. Okay, so there you go. So, like I said, education is the foundation of every nation. If you want to build a new nation, you need to start from education. And if you want to start from education, you need to start from the foundation, which is from basic education. So one of the things that the government of President Muhammad Buhari is looking to do over the next 4 years is to look at how we can go back to the basics of our education and how we can look at the things that need to be done to give Nigerians the skills that are needed for the future. So we're looking at what we call the STEAM education. STEAM education. Now, STEAM, next slide, please. STEAM is focused on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Now, this is really important because when you look at everything we do in life, whether it's doctors, whether it's architecture, whether it's art, whether it's history, whether it's tourism, you can look at these 5 pillars and you can hang something on it. So the world is moving to a point where the foundation of basic education is being hung on these 5 critical pillars. Next slide, please. So how are we going about it? We're looking at 2 things. First, we need to equip the young people, the learners between the ages of 6 to 18 with the relevant technical skills on STEAM. And secondly, we need to enable them to be creative, critical thinkers. So education needs to go beyond people who are struggling to become first in class, but to people who are thinking through solutions and who are finding solutions to the various issues and challenges around them. And this has to start from the classrooms. So you can't educate without the teachers. So we're also starting with increasing teacher capacity to be able to deliver on the programs and aspirations within the schools. So every teacher within the schools, we're going to be starting with about 10,000 classrooms every year, and we're going to be resourcing the teachers. And this is like a diagram that just shows how this is going to work. So you have the learners, which are the pupils, and then you have the teachers just to the left, to your down to your left. Now each teacher will have a mini projector and all their content digitized on their laptops. So what this means is that the teacher can sit in the classroom and project content, and the pupils in the classroom can view that content. Now, aside the content, we're also working on artificial intelligence teaching, such that in areas where where teachers are unable to reach, or in areas where we have limited number of schools, we're able to use artificial intelligence to actually go through the various courses for each of the teachers. And that's where the projector comes in, so that the teacher sort of now serves not just as the person who transfers knowledge, but as the person that coordinates within the classroom and gets the kids to sit orderly, gets them to understand what's being taught and answer relevant questions. Back to that slide, please. One slide back, please. Yeah. So This is under the Every Child Counts program of the federal government, which was part of the Next Level document, which we campaigned on in 2019. Now, as every child counts, it means that we don't want to leave any child behind. In the next 4 years, we want to reduce the number of children out of school and get people into classrooms. So there will be a core digital literacy curriculum, STEAM curriculum, which is currently being worked on. And then every child will get 1 hour in working on a based classroom project. So if you studied Agric, if you had a course, a class on Agric, for example, you'll be able to use art to depict what you've learned in class. You'll be able to use computer coding to build programs that focus on what you've learned in class. So basically, that's how you see from the regular classroom to the STEAM resource lab. Because we may not be able to get every classroom to be equipped with the necessary digital materials, that's why everybody will be required to get at least 1 hour within the resource lab every week. Every pupil in the country will be required to get this. Next slide, please. So, what are the intended outcomes of this? One is to teach our young people how to code. We want to teach as many young Nigerians how to build solutions using technology. Now, there's an analogy that I like to use, because one of the first things that people say to you on this sort of things is that, oh, what's going to happen to all the jobs when we have robots doing everything, when we have technology doing everything? And I remind them that in the 1900s, right, it was easy for a town crier to carry a gong and go around and tell people, the king wants to speak to you. The king wants, when they gather, they all gather in the village square. Then he tells them what. Now, in those days, if somebody had told you that there will be something like Twitter, they would say, what will happen to the job of the town crier? The job of the town crier in those days now, a Gerber Shehu with one tweet will get it to all Nigerians. So the jobs are not being taken away. The mode and the types of jobs are just going to change. And Nigeria as a country must prepare its young people to be able to fit into these jobs of the future. Creation, number 2, create. We're going to start teaching these kids how to create, how to look for solutions to the various problems around them, to the various challenges around them. So there are these young girls who met with the vice president last year, and they are from Makoko here in Lagos, and there's a young lady who had taught them how to code. And these girls have built an app that enables their dads to be able to sell the fish that they get from the Makoko River. And they've been able to increase their parents' income via that. That's one power of technology. Those are the things that technology can do for you. And one of the easiest ways to get that out to people is to give kids the skills so that they'll be able to maximize it. So from creation, they will produce, of course, and then learning to collaborate, learning to work with each other. So I'm a medical doctor. I need a software developer to work with me to be able to build solutions that can reach many more people. And then plan. Being able to plan ahead, being able to understand that beyond coding, beyond building, you also need to have sustainability behind whatever you build. And the only way to do this is to start to get these kids from when they are young and start to provide these solutions. Next slide, please. So with the benefits and impact of this, we're preparing our children for the jobs of the future today. We are working on learning that is experiential and not just classroom-based and monotonous learning. We're democratizing digital education and allowing people who normally would not have had access to be able to get access. And then we're ensuring that students finish school with strong foundational knowledge in digital skills, functional STEAM skills. So program funding. So this will include the purchase. So we are currently working on 2 models. So the first model is going to have cabins, porta cabins, that will have everything that is needed within the classroom. It's going to be equipped with solar panel, smart boards, computer equipment, and so those are what we call the pop-up labs, and we'll have furniture inside. While the second model is looking at schools where there is already infrastructure, where there are already buildings, and we're going to renovate those buildings and turn them into labs like this. And like I said earlier, we'll be starting with 10,000 classrooms per year. So this is an example of trying to move one of the porta cabins that have been built. And then, so what this solves also is it helps to deal with logistic challenges in moving materials across nations. It means if you're working with IDP kids in areas where people have been displaced, for example, you can move your labs from one class to the other. So what are the challenges around actualizing this and the sustainability? So one of the challenges is standardization of the production of the furniture and the pop-up labs, and then the networking and the design setup. So for standardization of furniture, we'll have to look at the local realities in the various places. So we're going to work with local manufacturers in the areas where the classrooms will be. For networking and design setup, for the areas where they have network challenges, for example, one of the things that we're going to do is to ensure that there are servers that host all the materials that are needed locally. If there's a need for them to be updated, they can be retrieved, taken to where there is network, and then they will be updated. Next slide, please. So one other challenge, of course, is ensuring that the program is absorbed and implemented. The Nigerian Constitution vests the power of primary education with the states and local governments. The president spoke about this at the first NEC meeting, where he said to the governors that we need to get children into school and we need to improve the standard of education. And as that is the constitutional responsibility of the state governments, President Muhammad Buhari has been very clear to them that they need to make this a priority also amongst the things that they will do. So I already spoke about the connectivity. In remote areas, this may be one of the challenges we are going to face when we are going to places where people are displaced and villages, etc., where we have very poor connectivity. So we will have to work with servers that have the data, that have the information locally embedded. And then same with power, and that's why we're using solar panels in most of the buildings. And solar panels are actually already designed into each of the porter cabins and each of the classrooms. So the whole idea of this, of course, like I said, is to simply demystify education. These things are not rocket science. The people that have done it, they're humans like us. And it's just about sincerity of purpose, it's about focus, and it's about determination to get these things done. Thank you very much.